Hi, I'm Brian. Welcome to Contrarian Prepping. In this video, I want to show you what I believe is one of the most perfect preps you can come up with. A lot of people are going to say, I already knew that. Of course you did. But how many of you can actually say that you do this now or already have this in place? Let's get into this. So this is video number 1 for this channel, and first thing I want to do is say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving a new perspective a shot. Maybe see if I can capture your attention, see if I know what I'm talking about. Why contrarian? Contrarian means a person who opposes or rejects a popular opinion. Sorry, I've got chickens and dogs wandering around. One of the things that I want to try and do here is come up with maybe not the most original, but things that aren't, seen everywhere else every day. I definitely want to hear from some of you guys in the comments. I'm interested to see if this is something that, am I the only person that does this, or does everybody already do this? I don't think it's necessarily anything new, but I don't think there's a lot of people that actively do this. Prepping in general seems to have taken a pretty big turn not long ago to more of like gadgets and guns and stuff like that. I'm not by any means saying that those things aren't, much better to watch videos about, or that they're also not a lot more entertaining per se. But that's not what it's all about. Of course, those things do have their place in this lifestyle, but it shouldn't be the driving factor of, the majority of videos that are watched. And I've got a pretty good list of items that I want to be able to publish here, so make sure you subscribe for more. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to dive right into this. I do want to mention this is something that is technically free. Nothing is free. Of course, you have to buy this stuff, but chances are you've already bought these things and you're probably throwing it away now. So this is just a way that you can reuse it. First things first, this is a gallon of Chick-fil-A sweet tea. Actually, it's just the empty container that I filled up with water, put it in the freezer. This is orange juice, simply orange. Filled this up to about here with water. If you look at this one, this is the exact same thing, it's just unfrozen, keeping in mind that when we freeze things, they expand. So you've got to leave, I don't know, that's maybe 2.5 inches there for expansion. This one is actually my personal favorite. This is nothing more than a 2-liter bottle, but these 2-liter bottles you can get at your local grocery store. You buy the store brand 2-liter bottles. This one, for example, I purchased as a sale. These were 4 for $5. Again, when you purchase these, that means that this container was $1.25. You drink the soda that's inside of it, and at that point, you've got yourself a perfect water storage container. So these containers really aren't that big. This could go under a dresser, behind a dresser. You could stack these under a bed, any piece of furniture in your home. My place for these is I actually have a deep freezer that's just full of these. Keeping these inside of a freezer, number one, helps your freezer run more efficiently. I see videos everywhere where people use these little blue ones and they recommend buying those. The reason why people recommend that you buy those is, well, because they get commission if you buy those. I don't exactly make anything from you buying a 2-liter of store brand soda or an orange juice container or sweet tea bottle from, Chick-fil-A. Those things I don't get anything out of, so that's a big part of it. Those blue containers or those blue ice blocks, when those freeze, when those thaw, what do you have there? Nothing. You don't have anything you can drink. I guess I definitely wouldn't recommend them for. You could just throw these somewhere in your home and use these for, just storing drinking water. Being up here, I'm literally the last property connected to the power grid on top of a mountain. As far as these containers are concerned, regardless of where you live, you can store, however many of those. Everybody's got some piece of furniture somewhere, or the back of a closet, or, someplace somewhere where they could store these. These don't necessarily have to be stored inside of your home. I would not store these in direct sunlight, But with that said, there's no reason why you couldn't make a pile of them, behind your garage or whatever the case may be, and just throw a tarp over them. Buy a cheap $5 tarp from Harbor Freight and throw it over these. There's all kinds of different ways that you can make this work. This is just a super cheap, super basic thing that you can do that actually has multi-purpose. The next thing would be, sorry, the chicken's got something to say. Here's what I would tell you is, these will help to maintain a temperature on a freezer. These will add several days onto the end of the time that you already have. If you have 5 or 10 of these that are inside of a deep freeze, chances are most people don't have their deep freezes level full with meat. I mean, I guess some people do, but not that many of us do. So if you took, 5 or 10 of these, drop them in your freezer, this would add several days onto the amount of time that your freezer will stay frozen. There we have another dog. They're everywhere. All right, so I beat the noisy chickens. We just gave them some worms and now they're preoccupied. So, what we use these for on a daily basis is long rides from the grocery store. We have to use cooler bags being this far out. And so what we'll do is take these that are frozen and just drop them into the cooler bags. The two biggest purposes for these are, number one, they keep the freezer frozen longer. Number two, though, is this is actually storing perfectly safe drinking water. It's something that's been bottled right now when everything is perfectly fine to drink out of. And then, once it thaws out, absolutely drink it. No problem at all. One of the other things, I guess you could call it as kind of a hidden thing that I do with these. Right now it's currently deer and elk season where I live up here. I'm at 7,500 feet in Colorado. We're plentiful with deer and elk up here. And so what happens is, today it'll probably end up getting up to about 65. Way too warm to be, leaving deer hang overnight or for, several days. So what happens is, if you've got 5-10 of these, when you quarter that animal and it's put into coolers, these are super handy to just throw in there and keep everything nice and cool. Wipe them down, throw them back in the freezer when you're done. Works great. So if you're looking for a means to store water, these are absolutely perfect for that. I mean, where else can you get a food grade container that costs $1.25 and holds 2 liters of water that you can literally just stick under a bed for however long? Worst case scenario, if you're using these and you decide that you don't want to use them, you can just dump this onto your garden. You can dump this onto whatever you want to in your yard. Doesn't matter. These are super, super handy to have though. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more.